and welcome to FinExtra. I'm Hannah Wallace and we're here today at EBA Day 2018 in Munich. Joining me now is the Global Head of Payments of EPAM, Alistair Brown. Hello Alistair, how are you?
Well, I'm very well, thank you.
How are you enjoying the event so far?
It is fantastic. We've got a lot of good people here, lots of great networking, lots of great ideas.
Fantastic, well, I'm glad you're enjoying it. And now setting the scene, could you tell me what are some of the main challenges for implementing open banking?
So we do a lot of work with organisations in the open banking sphere, and it's fascinating because we have a combination of very new technology, and this is better described as bleeding edge rather than cutting edge in many cases. Technology that needs to be optimised, technology that needs to be correctly implemented and often integrated into very old technology. So we really have old meets new, and that challenge at a purely technological level, irrespective of anything else, is hugely difficult. Partly because it's surrounded by the second thing, which is the cultural difference. So we have startups, we have the new mentality that goes with that openness, and it's absolutely fascinating how attitudinally we're into a completely different universe of experience here. And it's lovely, it's marvellous, it is the future, but it's in complete conflict with the traditions of conservative banking, the lack of risk-taking, the short-termism that goes with banking as we've known it historically. And the result is a real clash of cultures. So we've got technology in a difficult place, trying to move forward with all of that legacy stuff that's already in existence with the great classic banks. That conflict, but then the cultural conflict that goes around it that makes it worse. So this is a genuine transformational difficulty. And consultancy organisations that have struggled with this stuff traditionally, they have methodologies that cut through this stuff, even with the deployment of that stuff in collusion with some really great technology. It's still difficult. So it's a rocky road. It's a road worth taking because we do end up moving the needle and going to a totally different place, but it's not straightforward.
And I think you've touched on this already, but could you run me through how do you make a relationship with a fintech successful?
We've talked already about the collision of technologies old and new and the collision of cultures old and new. It's embracing that and working with them through their issues in both of those contexts. So the larger context of the cultural difficulties that I've described, contextualizing the technological advancement. Okay, so it's hugely important to have a proper plan, and it's very easy to say that, and it sounds banal, but agile project management and practices are à la mode, big time, and they're a massive deception. Because if we have a startup organisation that's not really practiced proper project management in the traditional waterfall way, and they leap straight into agile, there's a danger that it's actually an excuse for poor project management. And the result is the whole thing crumbles. And there's a lack of direction and a lack of achievement of the major milestones and the ultimate objective. So this is genuinely tricky. My organisation is very good at agile when it comes to pure software engineering, and what we tend to do is bring huge efficiency simply by dint of doing the work we do, because we understand the advancement that agile gives you over classic project management in a waterfall sense, and indeed the requirement to blend them from time to time. A lot of startups haven't got a handle on that because they just haven't had the exposure to many programs, and that's the best way to learn, of course. Effectively, when we deploy our software engineers into one of these programs, what it needs is not only the correct implementation of that agile technology methodology, but also overall supervision with a correct management structure that coordinates with the C-suite of the organisation in question, such that we end up with real coherence from top to bottom. Easy to say, difficult to do.
And I'd love to hear your thoughts on APAC. Would you say it as a consolidated marketplace or a fragmented, multicultural nightmare?
We all like to think of APAC as somehow an integrated set of countries. Far from it. We have a client at the moment operating in a dozen different APAC countries, And it's fascinating the extent to which the overall senior management desire for rationalisation, standardisation, consolidation, consistency is being completely undermined by local regulation. And increasingly there's actually a trend for further fragmentation, alas, due to the fact that increasingly payments processing, for instance, has to be done on soil in country. That's already the law in India, so we need a totally different solution for that using Indian resource, Indian methods and so on, as completely distinct from, say, Australasia or Taiwan or Macau or whatever it is. So for all that there is a real desire for consistency in order to make massive savings across the entire space, that's only partially possible. And it's not even Pareto 80-20, I suspect it's more 50-50 as well. So there's a lot of hard work out there to make it all happen.
And finally, Alistair, what does the future hold for the payments landscape?
So I think we have a very interesting case here whereby there's a lot of great thinking, a lot of fintech advancement happening in Europe, and the pace has been forced essentially by regulation. So we have SEPA PSD2, we have a structure, we have a set of requirements which is effectively putting Europe ahead of the game to some extent. And therefore catch-up needs to be done by North America in relation to Europe. So we have some great thinkers over in America, but the pace of change isn't as necessary and obligatory, as mandatory as it is in Europe because of that regulation. So there's a lot of work that can be done lifting great ideas from the one to the other and back again. So I think the next few years we'll see that rebalancing of power, if you like, between the various regions, not to neglect Asia Pacific, where for all that it is fragmented in the way we've discussed, there's a dynamism and a level of innovation and creativity which is just sublime. So it's going to be fascinating. It's a great journey.
Certainly an exciting time. Alistair, this has been great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching.